Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Tom from UDS with another edition of UDS Interviews, our series where we chat to interesting people from around the world. My guest this week is a band that straddle the line between black, death, and doom metal, cherry-picking the best parts from each to create one of the most exciting sounds in modern metal. Here to talk all about their upcoming album, it is my pleasure to introduce Clayton, Jarrett, and Jeff from arguably the most handsomest band performing today, Pulchra Morte.
Well, thank you very much.
I think you're stretching it a little bit there, but sure. Thanks,
I speak no lie. I speak no lie. How are you guys doing in these strange times that we live in?
I think we're doing great. We're staying productive. In fact, we're talking to you right now from Earth Analog Studios here and, getting together to rehearse, maybe record a couple things. We'll see you here pretty soon.
Very cool. Very cool. It's good to, that's the only thing that we can really do at the moment with shows out of the question. It's amazing to see the ways that, whether it be remote or in person, that artists have managed to keep creating during a really, really trying time. But obviously we're all friends here. And one of the ways I like to get to know my friends a little bit better is to get straight to the hardest hitting questions. And so I have to ask each of you individually, if you yourself was a type of sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you say best represents you as a person?
I mean, you have me trapped on a sort of a ledge between my favorite kind of sandwich to eat and one that represents me as a person because I'm a little hungry. It's near lunch, so I'm sort of leaning towards what I would like to eat right now. I don't know, Clay, sandwich, you?
Let's say a spicy Italian, because I'm a little spicy and like to pretend I'm a little Italian.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Jeff?
I'd probably just go with like a Reuben or something.
You're a little sour, got a little pastrami.
Yeah, a little sweet, a
there.
little sour.
All right, I'm gonna go with Philly cheesesteak. Yeah, a little cheese, a little lean, whatever. There you go. A little mustard, a little spice in there. Yeah.
You all sound delicious, but I have to say a Reuben is my personal favorite sandwich, so that's got a little special part in my heart. But we should probably talk about music while I've got you guys here. So your latest album, Ex Rosa Ceremonia, I hope I pronounced that correctly because I've been worrying about that for ages. It releases this Friday at time of recording, November 6th. What can people expect from this release?
I think we really wanted to come out of the gates with the first album and really kind of make a point of what we were about. Wearing our influences on our sleeve a little bit, and it was a little on the nose. And I think this album, not that we did it intentionally, but just kind of by virtue of how we progress as we write the different songs, we kind of find our voice. And, we want to just pull people a little further into what, makes us versus just kind of trying to translate what we do, through the lens of what we grew up listening to.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that it also, for me, I think that has a really nice balance between being heavy, being aggressive, being atmospheric. And with anything I try to do, I only really try to make music that I want to listen to. And I really enjoy the record. When I finally finished mixing and I could sit back and actually listen to what we had done, I think that I was happier than I expected to be. I listened back and I found that even after, X amount of months, we were on this record for almost 2 years in its entirety. To work on something that long and then finish it and not be sick of it is fantastic.
Right.
Like to be excited about practicing and rehearsing and playing it. And so I think people can expect a really nice blend of everything that we as a band love about heavy metal in general.
Awesome.
And I would like you, because it doesn't happen all that much, to talk to the guy that is the riff smith of this band. What do you think about it?
I would say that, just to keep it kind of short and to the point, that I think we definitely built on the foundation that we established off the first record. And I mean, as a band, I mean, that's really what you want to do. You don't want to repeat yourself too much, you know, so kind of spin your wheels. I think that we definitely grew our legs a little more on this record. The songs are very fleshed out, and just, I think also, like, starting from track 1 to finish, this album listened to from the first track all the way to the end is really that's really the way I would listen to it personally. I just think it flows really nicely together.
Absolutely.
But that would
absolutely.
be, as long as we're progressing and building on what we're doing, I'm very happy with it. And I think we did that here.
100%. Well, one of the singles that really stands out to me is the Serpents Quiet, because you speak of sort of trying to push the boat out and trying to do something a little bit more ambitious. This features an assortment of guest vocalists for the choir parts of this song. So first question is, was this recorded before or during the current lockdown situation?
The tracking for it was done for the most part up until it. You know, we did drums and guitars and stuff at different times, but the choir itself, if you're talking about the participants, everybody that joined us, that was something we came up with right as the pandemic lockdown hit and everybody was getting isolated. We just kind of said, well, wouldn't it be interesting to put an open invitation to anyone that cares about what we're doing to join us? And it kind of came from the idea that if you read about history of music and stuff like that, before there was really a network touring, Black Flag would go into a town 2 or 3 days early and flyer and invite everyone to come. We're doing this new music. We're doing this interesting thing. You know, if you want to be a part of it, like, show up. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting, since someone can leave, if we invited anyone, no matter who it was, no prerequisite, no discussion of who you were. I didn't ask. Come sing with us and let's see what happens. And we reached out to people that were friends of ours that were vocalists in bands, obviously. Then we got a lot of people that were people we didn't even know, but we were happy they contributed. And at the end of it, Clayton probably explained it best, is that it felt like a show. You know, you don't have any idea who's around you screaming, but everybody's screaming the same thing. And, and that's kind of what we wanted to create. And I kind of think we did.
Yeah, I mean, at a time when nobody can go to shows, figure, you know, if we can even get remotely close to that experience, we're going to try. And it just, you know, felt like something that might be interesting to do. And it really kind of exceeded our expectations. I think we ended up with 100 different voices, 100 plus on that song.
It's amazing, and that I can absolutely see that. It's sort of, instead of bringing the song to the show, you're bringing the show to the song, and it all works because there must have been so many moving parts with having these different layers of vocals, but it all fits together, and you get the sort of the range of all these different talented vocalists to create something which I don't think I've heard sort of fit together quite so well in any sort of metal, because normally you're restricted to just one or two vocalists, but to have that breadth and for it all to come together in sort of the most abrasive choir I think I've ever heard, it works remarkably well. But moving on from that, I was reading in a previous interview that you said one of the main goals, one of the main concepts behind the album was, and I quote, seeking to encourage a mental and spiritual renaissance. And if I understand that correctly, that's in response to sort of our realities being shown to us and being very much sort of limited to what we see either on screens or what we read rather than experiencing it ourselves. Have I interpreted that correctly, or could you just give a bit more information on that?
I mean, hammer to the nail. He did it. I mean, it's the idea when I said that, what I was talking about was, you know, I read a lot about history and I'm interested in a lot of things that have taken place probably in the last 400 or 500 years. And there have been different stages of mental progression, a lot of it within magic and the occult, but mostly behind closed doors, so to speak, you know, movements in astrology, what we can see in space. And obviously, you know, then that being cross-referenced with things that are, you know, carved in stone from, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago, that we're seeing things now that we're talking about before we had the ability to. So you have this interesting look at a mental progression. And I feel like we're maybe going the wrong way. I was just saying, you know, because I have family members, my children that are in college, and they are experiencing college through a screen. And that's worrisome to me, because I always say, if your entire existence is existing through a box, like when we were kids or whatever, don't watch too much television, this, that, and the other. But you're existing through a box, your life becomes what you're shown, not what you see. I think that's extremely dangerous. I think it's important for you to go out and engage in the world and engage with people person to person, not via a thing where you can't see a reaction or share a feeling. I think it's important that you own physical media. I think it's, Clay actually says this better than I do, but books, records, things that cannot be erased with some, horrible device that turns off everything that's electrical, and so I'm just urging people to read and expand their mind. There's a lot going on right now about people are telling you this is this way or this is that way. I don't have a lot of feelings about that, but if someone's going out of their way to tell me their agenda, my first reaction is you're probably not being honest with me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's exactly the same situation over here in the UK. All of our universities and colleges and the schools are still open, but above that, it's all remote. It's all very much across screens. And as someone who has had to spend the lockdown working from home and working in front of a screen, the most sort of apparent thing is that my memory of the past 6 months is hardly there, because everything has been it's moved so quickly, and it's been so sort of the humdrum looking in front of a screen that you just don't make memories. You don't make those experiences that stick with you. And it's terrifying, because 6 months might not be a big portion of time in the grand scheme of your life, but 6 months is still a large chunk of time, and for it to sort of pass by without making the same sort of experiences and things that you would do with regular human contact or regular human experience, it is very, very worrying. So I couldn't agree more that sort of stepping back and sort of either if it's nature or any other way that you sort of connect with the real world, it's a dying art in a scary way, and we need to sort of have these people to champion bringing it back around, because it sounds pretty alarmist, but we run the risk of losing our humanity in that regard.
Very much. And also, when concerts come back, because they will, put your goddamn phone down and experience the show.
Yeah. You're never going to watch that video again. No. You just aren't. Just put it away.
Yeah, my memories of the greatest gigs I've seen are so important to me. And if I had been holding an electronic device trying to capture this low quality version of what was happening, I don't think I would have that memory. So put the damn phone down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go on through my phone 3 months later just to hear.
Right, exactly.
The speaker. So yeah, I absolutely agree. It's one of those experiential things that you just can't replicate any other way. That's why as much as I fully endorse these artists who are trying to keep things going remotely with digital performances. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And as soon as it comes back in any way it can come back, I'll be the first person there, because you get withdrawal symptoms from gigs, even just as a attendee rather than a performer. I can't imagine how much more difficult it must be when you're sitting on these songs that you desperately want to take out on the road and knowing you can't quite do that just yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hopefully it won't be too much longer, but we shall see. But in the meantime, here at UDS, we don't just talk about music. We talk about the breadth of pop culture. We talk about movies, books, TV show, video games, everything and more. So with that in mind, if you could have one of your songs featured in anything at all, what would it be?
I think it just kind of depends. I'd love to see, if we had a song show up in a movie or something. I think, there's some very cinematic aspects to something like The Archer and the Noose, depending on the context, or, something sort of very dark and sinister, more like, To Suffer the Way You Do off the new record. I think either one of those would be something that would fit in very nicely depending on the context. And really, I mean, our whole goal is to write something that's, hooky and memorable and a complete song. So in that sense, throw a dart, take anything off the album, and I'd love to see it happen.
We're big movie buffs too. I mean, we like film, we're into that. So to see something we did in a film would be fantastic.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you think?
I probably have to go with like psychological thriller with like maybe a little bit of gore sprinkled in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm fully on board.
Interesting question. I'd like to think that it's kind of versatile. It could fit in a lot of different things, but psychological thriller for me. That's what I would say.
I've been binging so many films like that over Halloween weekend, so I'm fully on board with that. I can see that working very, very well. But obviously no one can tour at the moment, as we said, and it sucks, and hopefully it won't be that much longer until we can. But for the sort of the more short-term future, looking at the end of the year and into next year, what are your plans for the near future?
I mean, like I said at the beginning, we're sitting in a studio right this very second. So, our whole MO is really just, keep writing, keep doing what we're doing and coming up with songs that we'd want to hear. So, here we are. We've got a couple things on deck for these next few days. And, really Jarrett owns a recording studio. So, our mantra is just, keep going, keep creating, making new music and, being productive. And really, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, even after the first album, which came out in February of last year, I can't believe it was that long ago. But by the time that came out, we already had, 3 or 4 songs for the next record. And now this record comes out Friday, and we've already got 3 or 4 songs for the next record. So, we're just keep on keeping on.
Can't stop a good thing. Very cool. Very cool. Well, guys, we have one more real question, and that is, it's a silly one, but it's a traditional one because we are Upside Down Shark, and don't ask me why we're Upside Down Shark. We thought it up many years ago, and we're in way too deep to change it now. But with that in mind, what is your favourite shark? And it can be real, it could be fictional, it could be a shark from a movie or a shark from real life. But what would you say your favourite shark is?
Shark, as in
Shark.
Yeah, as in one of them guys.
I mean, it's hard to top Jaws. I mean, just for the sheer longevity of any given shark. I've certainly lived longer than any shark should. Mm-hmm. And, maybe probably should have died 20 or 30 years ago at least. But, here we are. I think I'd go, too, with the super sucker shark. Man, those things are crazy with like the, I forget what they call them, but with like the circular jaws that just kind of burrow through.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Those guys are great.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Bruce, the name of the mechanical shark.
Yes.
That didn't work apparently during the filming of Jaws, but still somehow managed to scare the shit out of everyone, myself included, at whatever age I was when I saw that. So Bruce, the mechanical shark that didn't exactly work like it was supposed to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Like sharks, like in general,
any shark.
I would say probably like a whale shark. They're like the biggest, and like they can destroy anything, but they're actually like gentle and like don't do that. Find it kind of fascinating. They're like other fish just like swim off their bellies and stuff. It's just, I don't know. Thought it was cool.
That's where you want to get in life. Is you want to be the big dog. But right. where you're so big, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be a dick. You don't have to bother anyone because no one bothers you. That's what you want.
Yep, stay grounded, being humble. Yep, for sure.
The whale shark, the most humble shark. Very cool, very cool. Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to all of you today. Thank you so much for your time. The last kind of question I have to ask you is, where can people find you online?
Right now, pulchramorte.bandcamp.com. I mean, really, if you just search Pulchra Morte, I'm sure it'll come up, or our website that'll point you there. That's where you can buy any of our records digitally there. I think we still have a handful of copies of the physical, but physical you can also get through Transcending Records. They have an EU specific shop, so shipping should be reasonable instead of $1 zillion from us directly.
Yes.
So I think it's eu.transcendingrecords.com. That's where you should be headed. As far as things like this beautiful, lovely shirt Mr. Pritchard is wearing, we're going to be dropping 3 new shirt designs on Friday. Again, we can't control shipping, but you can get all that at pulchramorte.bandcamp.com. And again, anything digitally, should be out on all the streaming platforms day of release.
Yep. Also, I believe it's Bandcamp Friday this Friday as well, so all the fees are waived, so even more reason to get on it.
Exactly.
As I say, guys, thank you so much for your time, and if you ever do find yourself, whenever the world is a bit more sane over in the UK, it'll be great to do this in person sometime and have a chat in real life.
Sounds fantastic. Please do.
Absolutely. For sure.
Awesome. Well, for anyone watching at home, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to pick up Ex Rosa Ceremonia out November 6th. We'll put a link to everything you need to know in the description below. Hit subscribe for all sorts of interviews with all sorts of crazy, cool folk, and we shall catch you next time.